This next clip we're pulling because, you guys, it is hard to really describe how much has changed in the last year. One of the things that we have worked on is figuring out how we're going to do our audio solutions. And so we are planning on eventually doing on-stage things. We are planning on doing things that are going to require more than the range of these kinds of microphones. It was incredible support that got us, because we didn't have these yet, we didn't have access to these yet, lav mics, lavalier mics with little packs that can wirelessly transmit the audio.
Honestly, I prefer them. It's just the way that you need to use them in a sound treated space is so specific.
And also, I read after the fact, after this clip, this episode that we're going to show the clip from, you're supposed to put it far away from your Wi-Fi router because it operates on a similar signal, and they were sitting on the Wi-Fi router.
Yeah.
So there was a ton of interference, and I wasn't able to figure out, because I was setting it up, I wasn't able to figure out exactly how the audio was going. I just knew that we heard audio and it was time to go on air. And so we dive into one of your favorite callers.
I honestly had trouble looking at this clip because there are very few people whose voices can send me into a space of just disdain in the same way. So if I get a little red in the face right now,
let's do it.
Is this along the lines of some sort of an empirical methodology that you're kind of referring to, or is it something different, or is it more than that?
Oh, for people who are listening to the podcast, this is Robin.
I think that for things relating to the brain and the things that happen inside.
Can you hear the echo?
Yep.
That is telltale. That is going to be very important soon.
The brain, the scientific method is probably the best definition there.
Okay, I'm asking more generally. Why would you believe anything to be true as opposed to its opposite?
See, you're trying to get me back on the script, man, but I'm not talking about whether or not anything is true. I'm talking about specifically whether or not I believe the mind is true, and I gave you a reason why. So now you give me a reason why you think the opposite is true.
Okay, that is so freaking good. You called out where the pivot was and you brought it back to the topic. You know, when people pivot like that, often it's an indicator that they don't have any more to give, or they're running up to a place where they're going to not have good answers.
Yeah, they can see the cliff face kind of drop off in front of them.
Yeah, and so they pivot back to where they feel comfortable, even if that means trying to change the entire subject, which Robin was doing at that point. Now, I had zoomed the camera in on you because I had to go pee so badly. I mean, it was killing me. I was in pain. I was no longer able to focus. You were diving in, you were talking. I was like, cool, this is a perfect time for me to get up and go pee.
Well, I believe that the opposite is true because I believe that God has revealed himself. But I'm just asking why.
So wait.
The concept of.
So I have to have multiple corroborating sources to back up my.
Oh, can you see at the edge of the camera?
There's
the wobbly edge of the monitor?
Yep.
Oh, that's bad.
Fine. But you get to believe your thing because you believe God revealed himself.
I'm going to give this to you and step away for just a
minute. Your standard of evidence is different than mine.
Right, exactly.
I asked you about yours.
Do you notice that V's lips are moving, but there's no sound coming out?
Yes, for those of you listening to the podcast, this is not your app being weird. This is Eric's mic walking
Standard of evidence for claims, not the other way around.
And V is talking and trying.
I don't appeal.
And then stops and looks up at me like, what did you do before you left because my audio's not working?
Oh, you were gone already. You had booked.
Yeah.
To the consensus as a general, I mean, in a general sense, I guess that could be an indicator, but that's not my grounds for why I believe something to be the case. I have what is known as a revelatory epistemology, meaning that all knowledge is derived from God's revelation.
At this moment, I imagine that you are thinking to yourself, well, I'm boned.
Well, this is the worst.
Like, what is going through your head at this point?
Every single live stream person ever knows that this is their like the worst thing that could possibly happen. You've got someone on the line who is saying things you blatantly disagree with in the middle of an argument that you are winning.
Camera's focused on your face.
It's just straight up just you on the screen, and there is no way to get your audio working because you just do not have a mic anymore. Because we did not realize that mine wasn't working. Eric walked off with his. He was out of the room. And I'm there. You'll see in a second if you're watching the video the look of, should I get up and go find him and leave the camera on a blank screen? Like, what is better? Like cost benefit analysis. Like, what is happening here?
Meanwhile, you can hear Robin continuing to talk, but you can start to hear the surprise that he hasn't been cut off yet.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Are you there?
Yeah,
what's happening?"
But aside from that, I was just asking, when I asked you the question about evidence, I was just being more general. Maybe I didn't make that clear. So I was just I'm making a general statement about why you would believe anything to be the case, why you would accept any piece of evidence at all. And so when you said corroborating evidence, I thought that's what you meant.
You're trying to mess
anything
with
that is worthy of belief has to have.
Should I go?
Yeah,
Should I
look up?
Corroborating evidence. Is that your position?
Nope,
try and
it's not working.
Give it a shot. Nope, not working.
Can you guys hear me?
And at this point, you are holding your finger up in a hold-on motion.
I'm like, maybe he's watching the stream as well. At least the people on this the live chat will know that this is like not them.
Yeah.
Something's wrong here.
Hello?
And now it's just quiet. Hello? You're trying to work on it.
Meanwhile, you're just like, do.
Oh yeah. I'd held it for so long. I was. And so at this point, you can yeah. So for people again who are listening to the podcast, V pulls off their earbud, and you can see visually is yelling. So meanwhile, I am washing my hands, and I hear Eric, from the other room, and I'm like, what is going on?
Why would this even happen on stream?
And then it hit me. I left my lav mic on, and everyone had to hear me pee. That, like, they heard the toilet flush.
That's funny.
And I left my lav mic on, and now everybody was listening to yeah. That's what I thought had happened.
That's hysterical. I didn't know that. That would also be terrifying.
Yeah, and so...
I take it back. This is not the worst nightmare. The worst nightmare for a live streamer would be that.
Yeah. And so when I come in, I'm red-faced because my first thought is, holy crap, no. I just subjected our entire stream to listening to me go to the restroom.
Oh, my God.
Let's get back to here. So you are now yelling that...
Hello?
Yep,
he was very patient that first time.
He was, and it is just absolutely quiet. Everyone's watching, and it's just...
Clearly talking through your mic the whole time, because my mic is not working.
Oh, no. Yeah, so I'm
You're like,
I'm silently relieved. Yeah, that is exactly what was going on. You were like, only my lav mic has been on this entire time, but it was turned off when you got up to go to the restroom. Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, that definitely was a situation of, oh good, V is the one who had to deal with that particular embarrassment, not me.
Nightmarish. I felt so bad. Let's watch the rest.
Yeah.
I can hear you. I can hear you guys now.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
Sorry about that. Apparently my mic hasn't been working this whole time, and I've been using Eric's mic, which is...
Okay, as a masterclass for people who do find themselves in this nightmare situation. You didn't yell, you didn't cry, you didn't storm off screen, you didn't, what you did is you hung a lantern on it, you didn't try to pretend like it didn't happen.
Is why I've been low, and Eric left the room, so no one could hear me anymore. So we will...
My bad.
I could hear you before. I know just to cut off, but I could hear you before, V, so
okay.
You were fine.
The thumping you're hearing is me handling the microphone.
And then the sound just goes down the drain because it gets like clipped onto my thing, and then it like flies backwards. So it was just a bad audio situation altogether.
Oh yeah. I tried to quietly step away to use the restroom, and that did not work out well.
Nope. All right, so now I'm going to put this here so that we can...
And so the clicking that you're hearing a little bit, the clicking thing happened now. So there's the clicking problem, there's the mic issue, there's the loss of sound. And mind you, we weren't doing safety copies either.
Right, so this was just what we were stuck with.
Yeah, so what you're hearing, if you go back and listen to that or watch that clip, it's in the description for this video. Keep in mind that it was a tiny microphone over here, V's over here, so the volume coming from me is super loud. The volume coming from V is super quiet, but it doesn't sound so bad because I spent hours working on that audio after the fact, the raw audio, taking the clicks out, trying to even out our voices, even though we were on the exact same file, so I couldn't separate us out.
Yeah.
Can both use it
for
continuation of this show.
Oh, that's so embarrassing.
That is very embarrassing. All right, so here's the deal, Robin. I think that you like to go broad and you like to go general because that is where you're comfortable playing and that's where you can play your word games.
You pivoted back into the discussion. Even though all of that happened, you didn't go, this was a wash. You pivoted right back in.
I am not talking about how I know anything at all. That's not a concern for you right now, unless that's why you called in ultimately. What we're talking about specifically right here is how I know that why I believe that a brain cannot, that a mind cannot live outside of a brain. And that's all. Right? We're not getting into solipsism unless we want to talk specifically about that. But I think that we should talk more next time about the standards of evidence we both have for beliefs that we believe.
Yeah. So.
And so you brought it back around.
Goodness.
It's starting to cut out at that point because again, the receivers were on top of the Wi-Fi.
Right.
It was
just too much for those little guys.
Yeah, the amount of forensics that needed to be done to figure out every single place that went wrong, and it did. Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Except that it wasn't on while you were in the bathroom.
Thank goodness.
But yeah, honestly, that is the result of years of on-air training. Like,
you killed it.
I don't think if I thought through that, I would be able to do that again. Like, if I was actively being like, all right, and then I should do this, and then I should do this, I wouldn't know what the fuck to do.
No,
it was just automatic.
Instinct.
It was instinct at that point. And that is a really cool thing that we don't talk about as much, which is we're not naturally good at this. This is not like a thing that we decided like, oh, we seem to be really good at like arguing with people on air in live time. It's something that we both had to like spend a lot of time getting good at.
Well, and the funny thing is I had spent years and years and years listening to call-in shows just, very similar to this.
Oh yeah, me too.
But it does not prepare you for hosting.
Well, I disagree.
Why?
Because what I would do is I would listen to you when I was in Columbus, and you and your co-host would be taking callers, and they would say something, and I would pause it, and I would say, if I were on this show, this is what I would say. I would say blah, 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 and I'd actually speak it out, and I would speak what I would respond. And then I'd press play, and I'd listen to what you guys said, and then I'd pause it again and be like, okay, I can see why they went that way. I feel like that's going to take them down that track, though, and I would go this way.
That's a really good point.
Like if you watch them with that kind of eye, it actually really does help.
Well, so I think that helps with these discussions. I'm specifically talking about the skill set of hosting, looking into the camera, getting rid of ums and uhs, making sure that what you're saying is at the same tone and you're not yelling, screaming. There's even a way of speaking into a microphone that nobody talks about, but we needed to learn how to speak into microphones. These S's are as soft as they can be because a hard S hurts your ears. There are plosives, and if you say it directly into the microphone, it makes these loud popping sounds. And if anybody is at the gym or jogging and one of those pops comes through, it is miserable.
You just fly
it
off
hurts.
It
hurts.
Yeah.
And so just, that's what I meant.
Fair.